Hi, this is Greg Fishman. I'm at my studio in Evanston, Illinois, and today I'd like to demonstrate some different practice techniques for working with my new book, Hip Licks for Saxophone. First technique I'd like to demonstrate is what I call interactive call and response. This is where you listen to the lick and then you play right along with it on the second time through. Okay, so check this out. These are major 7 licks. This is the fast tempo version, so this is going to be probably for more advanced players, but there's also a slow version included with the book. All right, let me get the thing all set here. Whoops. There we go. So that's the most basic way, I think, of working with the book, where you hear it and you imitate it. Okay? Of course, I spent enough time with the book that I've memorized all the licks, and that's something you can do as well. The book is really great for working on your musical memory and working on your ear training, hearing an idea and playing it right back without looking at the book. In the beginning, it's fine to read it, but after working with it for a while, these are actually pretty easy to memorize. Okay, so that's like technique number 1. Here's the next thing I'd like to demonstrate. When I work with it, many of the licks were set up so that you can do it different ways when you're practicing. This one I call displacement, and what I do with this is I play the lick later. Usually I shift it. I play it either 1 beat or maybe 2 beats, sometimes a whole measure or 2 measures later than it's written. And so let me demonstrate that. It's got a very cool kind of overlapping effect when you hear it. Sort of sounds like a duet. Okay, so you get the idea of that. It's just kind of like, you know, you can start them late, you can wait and listen and just, you know, pick your spots where you want to go in and start the lick. And there's a lot of different ways of doing it, and it really gives a lot of variety. Now, of course, you can do that with the play-along track itself without the saxophone demo, if you like. And so that works as well. If you don't want to hear the other part against you when you're doing the shifts, that works as well. Okay, now next I'd like to demonstrate another technique, and this is where I'll transpose each of the licks. Now I can pick any of the licks. There's 12 licks for each CD track, and there's a different lick for each key. So what I like to do is work on transposing each of those licks to all 12 keys, and it works against the remaining licks. So here's how it's going to be. I'm going to play the first lick right along with the track, and then as the track goes to the next key, I'm going to transpose that first lick. So you're going to hear them kind of, you get to hear them together at the same time, 2 different licks. I'm only going to match up on the one that I'm using as what I call the model lick. So check this out. The right track up here for you. Whoops. Model. Now, I can do that, and I can also, if I like, I can go to the rhythm section only track, and I can play 1 lick, and then play the next one transposed. Okay, for example, I'm going to do this one. I may actually want to look at the book, because this is pretty advanced. What I'm doing here, I'm transposing 1 lick, and I am playing one of the written ones. Since it repeats, it really is set up to do it like this. And I'm going to show you what it's going to sound like. It's really a lot of fun doing this kind of exercise. Okay, so now I would transpose it. Okay, so you see what I'm doing? I'm playing the new lick the first time, and I'm playing the transposed lick number 1 the second time. Okay? Okay, so I'm keeping track of all these things, and it's really good for your mind, to do this. It gets you really organized. And, it's a very useful technique. And, it's sort of like you're juggling a couple different ideas back and forth, and you have to keep one kind of locked in your memory and still be able to transpose it. So this is something that's, it's a great thing to work on, and this really provides a unique situation where you can hear things in kind of layers of sounds, which is, a way that I like working. To me, the saxophone, you want to hear like a piano player, is what I usually tell all my students. You want to hear like a pianist, because pianists can hear different layers of sounds and get all the layers coming out at one time. Since we're restricted to just playing one note at a time, it's easy to kind of fall into a trap of only hearing something one way at one time. So I like to practice to really expand my hearing so that I can hear the same idea or different ideas laid on top of each other. Okay, and this book really it lends itself to that. That's one of the reasons all of my books, I work with them myself, and these are things that I find useful and that have helped me grow as a professional player. And so that's why I like to share them with everybody, and why I really enjoy writing them. Because they're things that they're interesting to me, and I think they're a lot of fun. And when I do them, I develop them with all my students and things like that. So I really try to create books that are going to be useful, number one, and that are also going to be fun, and they're going to be practical, and they're going to give you things that you can use in real-world playing situations, because all of the things in these books are things that I would do, on a gig, where, whatever the situation. These are very typical things that I would do that lay well on the horn, that sound good, and that feel good in my hands. One of the things about hip licks is that it's written from the idiomatic perspective of the saxophone. So in other words, when I think about idiomatic saxophone playing, Sonny Stitt always comes to mind. Things lay so beautifully under the fingers because he knew the horn so well. And all of the top players, Coltrane, Sonny Rollins, Stan Getz, Charlie Parker, they knew the instrument so well that it's not just a matter of the fingerings, it's a combination of the fingerings and the timbre of the note, the texture of the note, the weight or the density of the note, and the range in which the note is played that determines the lick. For example, Charlie Parker, his most famous licks, he pretty much plays them in just one key. He definitely had the technique to do them in all 12 keys, but he chose not to, because of the way they sounded in that certain range. It had a certain kind of feel to it. Same thing with all the players. Stan Getz, whenever he's in his key of B, there's certain things he will only play from his vocabulary that are customized to the key of B and to a particular register of the horn. And that's one of the things that I've noticed all the top players have. They can play things in 12 keys, and some things are what I call general, where you can play them in any register of the horn at any speed. And then there are other parts of the vocabulary that are more customized, that are specific to either tempo, register of the horn, combination of fingerings, how it lays on your, on the horn, or density of the notes. For example, you might want a really thick sounding note, like a middle D or something, or you might want a thinner sounding note, like an open C sharp. And those are all factors that go into the creation of the music. And they're very specific to the saxophone. I think that's why the saxophone language, the vocabulary that it has evolved, is really unique and different from, say, trumpet language, the trumpet vocabulary or the piano vocabulary. It is so built around the nature and character of the instrument and the way that the sounds come out of the instrument. It's really a beautiful thing, the way that it's evolved over the years, and it's something that's always fascinating to me. I never get tired of finding different combinations of notes and intervals, that make up interesting things. All right, well, that's all I wanted to share with you today. Again, the new book's called Hip Licks for Saxophone. It's available at my website, www.gregfishmanjazzstudios.com. And if you pick up the book, please send me an email or friend me on Facebook, and stay in touch. I'd love to hear what you're doing with the book, and if you enjoy it, I hope you get a chance to check it out, and I think you'll really enjoy it. Take care. Talk to you later.